What is going on, my friends, and welcome back to another video on the channel. Well, in today's video, we are going over Solana as its price is up substantially over the last few days, and many of you are continuing to ask me, Tyler, should I sell it? Should I buy more? Should I just hold? What should we do? So I'm going to try my best to answer those questions in today's video, and we're starting right now. Now, looking at Solana, we can see that there is a lot going on. First and foremost, we can see that we are up pretty substantially over the course of this year. Ever since the beginning of 2023, we're up roughly 200%, which is absolutely ridiculous, but is very understandable, especially for a crypto that has fallen this much over the last few months. If you're new to Solana and maybe you just found it because of this pump, the reason that we did see such a strong dump back here was a company named FTX did go bankrupt, and they had a partner named Alameda Research who also went bankrupt, and Alameda Research held a substantial amount of Solana. So as they went bankrupt, we figured that they would be dumping their Solana, which is why we did see such a substantial fall in its price to begin with. Now, from this point forward, no one really knows what is going to happen with all of that, right? That is still not just going to disappear. That is something that will be addressed, and we need to just pay close attention to it because it is something that is just going to kind of hang over the head of Solana for a while until it's rather sorted out. But one way or another, with all of that hanging over its head, pumping 200%. It's pumping 200%. So let's talk about it. So looking at this, I always start to get very weary, very weary in a situation like this. Okay. Now, as Solana is starting to pump, we can see that it's likely going to pump the brakes very soon. Let me give you some of the reasons why I think that this move to the upside for Solana will slow down rather soon. Number one is just look at it, right? I mean, I know that technical analysis is usually a little bit more technical than that, but literally just look at it. You can kind of tell, right? Whenever we get in these positions where we start going vertical, these blow off tops tend to happen. Now, am I saying that it can't go a little further before pulling back? No, absolutely not. And I think it very well might. But realistically, in a situation like this, of 3 weeks straight of green, it's not a terrible idea to assume that a short-term pullback at least is on the way. Now, whenever we do look at it from more of a technical perspective, let's first start with the most basic, which is the RSI. Whenever we look at the RSI in this situation, you can see here that it is extended completely. It's at the 80 right now, but it went all the way to the 87 level. And the last time we were there was, guess what? At the all-time high last time. Right? The last time we were this high on the daily RSI was at the all-time high, which is crazy, right? You can also see something in that same perspective is that we are getting bearish divergence. Whenever you look at this previous high from back here in November to the high that we're at right now and put that into comparison with what we're seeing on the RSI, we're seeing a lower high and a higher high. That tells us that that is bearish divergence on the daily time frames and the macros. That is typically a sign that a pullback is going to happen. Look back what happened here. Now, this is a different type of divergence, a different type of bearish divergence, but it has the same mentality. You can see here, whenever we went here, higher high, but then lower high on the RSI, what happened? We started to pull back. And so you can start to see and start to tell that when we get these bearish divergences on the top side, that a pullback is generally likely. Now, do I think that this RSI is ready to crash right now? No, not necessarily. Now, I typically do see that we put in bearish divergence on the dailies in the micro before we do crash. What I mean by that is oftentimes we'll see something like this happen where we'll put in a high, this thing goes up maybe towards, like $30 or something like that, and then pulls back. And then in that time frame, we put in the lower high of this nature, and then that micro bearish daily divergence is what causes that full-blown pullback to the downside. So considering the fact that we've not seen that divergence just yet, I would be willing to say that there is a little bit of potential room to the upside from this point forward to put in a higher high than we did right here around $24, $25, but I definitely wouldn't necessarily count on it because of how extended we are right now. Now, speaking of extensions, you can look at the Bollinger Bands and see clearly that we are in a position to see a pullback to the 20 SMA relatively soon. Typically speaking, when Solana does get these pushes outside of its Bollinger Band envelope, eventually you will see a return to this 20 simple moving average. And so if we're in a situation that will, kind of repeat history per se, we should see a pullback of that nature relatively soon. You can see that we have moments like this where we go up and we go up and we go up and we don't come back down to it, but we almost always resort back to it. You can see right here, the full overextension back to that 20. You can see back here, a full overextension, where'd it go? Directly to the 20. You see right here, boom, extension, past the 20, extension 20, extension 20, extension 20, extension 20, over and over and over again. So you can see here, every time we touch the top side of the Bollinger Band envelope, eventually we resort back to that 20 simple moving average. Currently speaking, that 20 simple moving average is at $15.48, which does look like a loss of about 33% from here, which wouldn't necessarily be out of the ordinary, considering this thing just pumped 200%. Now, it's not only just my Bollinger Bands, it's not only just my RSI, but it is our general macro Fibonacci's that we are looking at also that say, look, a pullback becomes more likely in this zone. You can see here from our range high down to our range low, Solana is in the 786 to 618 golden pocket right here between $27 and $21. Now, whenever you see this pocket, this is the retracement zone that is the most likely to push you back down, okay? Typically speaking, you'll see something of this nature, right? You will see a high up here, you'll see a low down here, and it has to bounce, right? Because people are getting too excited, the short positions are opening up too much down here, and of course this thing has to bounce. It has to get that bear market rally. Now, during a bear market rally, dead cat bounce, whatever you want to call it, we will typically see a resort back to this 618 to 786 box right here. Now, this is the deciding factor. Typically, you'll get a bounce out of it. Then you're gonna look, okay, are we gonna set the higher low? Are we gonna set that higher low and go back up and retry it, clear it, and now we're looking good to see a break past this previous high? Or are we not gonna be able to do that, and then we're gonna see this capitulation to the downside, which is typically how these ABC moves happen, right? This is typically how that A, B, C move to the downside does play out. That's usually where the B goes to. And so because of that, whenever I look at this for Solana, I start to question, okay, are we in a situation where we could be possibly putting in another macro ABC wave, right? I mean, this is still within the realm of possibility. Now, do I necessarily think we're going to be seeing a C wave back down below $7? No, not really, unless the rest of the market crashes that much, but it is something to pay attention to, considering the fact that we're anticipating a pullback relatively soon off the RSI and the Bollinger Bands, and now we're in this 618 to 786 box that also typically sees a pullback. Now, let's extend it further out. Let's look at some trend lines, of course, because those are always essential. When I look at these trend lines, I look at these highs that we set from right here, and I'll look at the high that we set back in November. That creates this trend line right here. Okay, let's get rid of this. Now, whenever we see a trend line, a 2-touch usually isn't enough to really confirm it as a trend line. A 3-touch is. And what we're looking at right now is to possibly confirm a 3-touch. If we hit this for the third time and start to pull back, that confirms this as a strong trend line, a strong point of resistance that we need to then be able to clear to really have any upward momentum. And so considering the fact that we are sitting at a possible 3-touch, that is something to say, okay, maybe this thing is about to pull back. Now, not only that though, and the final thing that I'm looking at is just this general structure that we got back here, in which we did get a confirmed 3-touch right here. As you can see, 1, 2, 3, 3-touch on this trend line. Let me just delete this one for now. And as you can see, even if we do get the breakout right here, we still need to be paying close attention to this interaction around this $33 to $30 level, because again, if we confirm this 3-touch here. So this is absolutely a strong point of resistance. And so even if I'm right with that daily RSI bearish divergence I was talking about, maybe we go back up, touch this level right here, put in that bearish divergence of this nature, get that higher high, get that lower high, and now we're in a situation where we probably do pull back as low as $16 to $20, right? And so because of all of this, people, I think you're starting to get the commonality here. The commonality is that the likelihood of a pullback is getting more and more and more substantial. Now, to what degree, you can never really know. My assumption was that we could come back as almost as low as like $15.50. You can see here that we had this backwards cup and handle pattern. Cup, in which we broke out of this right here right around 15.50. And so in my head, we never really came back to back test that, so that is within the realm of possibility before we can look for continuation. Now, the ultimate goal here, let's talk about what the ultimate goal here is, to get past $39.10. Now, do I know if that's going to happen? Obviously, I have no idea what's going to happen. Can we pump another 60% after we've already pumped 200%? Sure we can. Who to say we can't? But realistically, with the amount of resistance we have in this zone between here and clearing that previous high, we just need to be aware that there is a strong likelihood of some type of pullback. So because of that, well, what exactly am I saying? Well, realistically, I do believe that in this point in the market, taking some profits off the table isn't a bad idea. Now, I know some people are going to be like, well, Tyler, if Solana goes back to $70, you can have, 3x from here, 3.3x, whatever. And yeah, sure, obviously that is the truth. But one thing you have to understand is that the whales love when we get too ahead of ourselves. And as we get too ahead of ourselves, it gives them opportunities to take some of our positions. And if we don't sell right now, say you don't take profits and it pulls back all the way to $10 and you missed out on all of those gains that you could have had, would you regret it because you fell into the trap of a whale? Yeah, probably so. Personally speaking, I actually did sell about 4% of one of my holdings on one of these altcoins because I wanted to pay for a hotel that I needed in a trip that I'm taking in a few months. I had a lot of profit. I was accumulating at much lower levels than this one. And I just decided, you know what? I want to take some profits to pay for this hotel because if we're in a bear trap, at least I'll be able to capitalize on this moment, right? And so understand, even in moments like this, it's okay to take profits. Sure, in the long term, we're probably going to see higher levels than this. But that doesn't mean that there aren't better buying opportunities on the way, especially as the FOMO is getting real right now. So with that said, in my opinion, I think that a short-term pullback for Solana is likely. I think that it could either happen here or closer to about $30-ish, but one way or another, I wouldn't be going huge leverage long trades right now. I wouldn't be opening big long trades whatsoever just because I do believe that pullback is likely on the way. Now, if you do want to open up some trades, I am using PrimeXBT recently. You guys know I always look for great deals and low fees and all of these different campaigns that I can help you out with. And on PrimeXBT right now, if you do deposit crypto, you can get 7% cash back and up to $7,000 in bonuses if you do sign up. And so with that said, make sure you don't miss out on that. That could be free, easy money, especially in a bear market. That is never a bad thing, okay? But with that said, that is going to be about it for today's video. Of course, I hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, you can always let me know simply and easily by smashing that like button and subscribing to the channel down below, and I will see you all next time. Peace.